everybody, I am Liz, and today I am here to do another book review for A Land of Permanent Goodbyes by Atia Abawi. This book is a very difficult book to read. It is on the Syrian conflict, and as Atia Abawi is also a refugee, she knows a lot about this conflict and what it felt like to her to flee Syria and to come here to our country. And so I definitely have to talk about some intense trigger warnings while reading this book, particularly when it comes to torture, execution, violence, death, grief, and also sexual assault. The sexual assault is not very explicit or graphic, but it is in there, and it does definitely talk about how women handled it and also just the feelings and emotions during said time. Now, as I've said, it is very difficult. I cried the entire first third of this book. It was brutal. It was so painful because the first third of this book, Tariq, our main character, loses more than half of his family when his apartment building gets bombed. And I was so torn up when he goes to the hospital and he's looking for his family to see who survived, and he's saying goodbye to the ones that were pulled out of the rubble, and I'm like tearing up just thinking about it right now because it crushed me. And then you move on to Tariq's father deciding to leave their home in Syria and try to escape Syria as refugees. And then they go from there to their uncle's house to gather supplies, money, provisions to make the long journey to Turkey. And then after Turkey, the book lands in Greece. And it's just such a terrible, heartfelt journey, and it really opens your eyes to a lot of the issues and the people benefiting from these refugees as they sell faulty items that cause them to drown, or they rob people in transit. It is so intense. If you have not experienced really what the Syrian conflict did to a lot of Syrian civilians, reading this book will open your eyes. I've watched some documentaries beforehand, so I definitely knew what I was going into, but I was still floored by the detail of the extremists and the terror and the torture and the public executions, because a lot of the documentaries talk about their journey to become refugees and to find safety and a home where they can live and prosper and not be afraid, but it doesn't really talk about their life and their experiences in Syria. And so that's what really floored me. Now, this book is narrated by Destiny, and though some people say that this book is very telling instead of showing, which I do have to agree, I still feel like I got all of the solid details I needed to really paint a thorough picture on Tariq's journey with his family. I loved Destiny's little quips and anecdotes and like feelings about the whole situation and life in general. I felt like it was really tied together so well, and obviously I adored the plot. I cried with the plot. I definitely loved a lot of the settings that take place in this book. As I've said, we have Tariq's apartment, home getting bombed, the hospital afterwards, his uncle's place after that, and then Turkey. There's a cute little tea shop that I really enjoyed their stay in, and just their whole journey in general. I felt like everything was described so well, and it really just does. It paints a picture and puts you into the story and this journey, and you're rooting for the characters to make it to safety. And I loved the characters. I felt like I really connected with them and their journey, and like I said, I was rooting for them the whole time. side characters and main characters and all. And so I really, really enjoyed this story. I do highly, highly recommend it. And so I would love for people to read this book and tell me their opinions on it, see if they liked it as well, and just really talk to me in the comments down below about if you've heard about this book, because it is a lesser known book in the booktube community, and if you've read it, really, what are your thoughts? And so as I end all of my book reviews, I really want to share my favorite quote and then talk about the main themes and possibly a book that is similar to this one. So believe it or not, if you can see all these sticky tabs, I have a lot of quotes of favorites and things that made me emotional and things that I loved. But my favorite quote happens to be on actually page 3, which is kind of the prologue of the story, and it's Destiny just kind of narrating about life in general and her role in the whole situation. And so this is what she says. So yes, you were born to die, but in between, you are meant to live. If we run into each other prematurely, it's not because of my negligence, and often not because of yours. Your world controls me. I do not control you. I am destiny. And I loved it so much because Destiny's not quite the same as fate. And so the prologue really does dive into that and talk about it. And as we conclude this book review, I like to talk about themes that are very specific to this book, and really just if there's any other books that are similar to it, to give you a recommendation. Now, I don't formally have a recommendation for this book because I haven't exactly read a lot of other books that involve the Syrian conflict or refugees, things that strengthen families or an other being narration, and also just really moving through bad situations and seeing the good and hope that still arises from these terrible situations, which are definitely amazing, fantastic, emotional themes for a story. And so a lot of people on the interwebs have been talking to me about a book called The Book Thief. Now, this book has been said to be similar to A Land of Permanent Goodbyes in the sense where it's narrated by an other being, it's narrated by death. It's also definitely about really difficult subject matter as it takes place in World War II, where books are burned. There's a lot of other scenarios and situations involved in The Book Thief. I haven't actually read it. It is on my list of books to read, but I have watched the movie and I did really enjoy the movie. I'm sure the movie is very different because the movie doesn't really have that death narration or those other tones that I hear are in the book, and so I'm very excited to read it when I get to it. So if you have a book that sounds like it's very fitting for A Land of Permanent Goodbyes, please let me know. Tell me in the comments down below. I'll check it out. I love hearing about book recommendations and exposing myself to books that I haven't yet heard about. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that I either brought your attention to a book that you haven't heard about, or that you have really settled on your decision whether or not to read this book, or to really have your own thoughts and feelings about this story. And if you have read it, again, please, please, please let me know about your thoughts and feelings down below. I would love to hear about it. So there is my book review. I really do hope you enjoyed it. I hope you stick around my channel and that you would love to subscribe to it to be notified when I post videos, which is every Tuesday and Friday. And if you did like this video, make sure you leave a thumbs up. And again, I hope to see you guys again. I love you guys. Bye!